Comic Book Savant, episode 416. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode, we're going to be doing a countdown episode, which I haven't done one in a little bit. So I decided to do one. And this actually came as a recommendation from one of the listeners. I don't know if he wants me to give out his name or not. So he commented on, since he had recently got back into comics and he's missed out on a lot of comics, when was the last time I did like an episode counting down my favorite writers and artists and things of that nature. So I figured I'll do a few countdown episodes. I'll spread them out over the next few weeks or so. I'll kind of space them out, but I'm going to do my favorite comic book writers this episode. The next countdown episode I'll do will probably be my favorite artist. And then I will also do a third episode. It'll be like my favorite combination or creative teams of combination of writer and artist together and some of their collaborations. So hopefully if you guys, I know because we all have different backgrounds and are different levels into getting into comics or coming back to comics, I thought it would be good to refresh the list. It's been about like 2 years since I last kind of did an episode, series of episodes like this. So hopefully it'll put some writers on your radar, and I will also tell you some of their work that I really gravitated to, because you might know a particular writer for a certain work that they've done. I might know them for another. So hopefully through conversation and whatnot, that we'll give a lot of people some new things to look for, to check out, to want to read. That's my hope, that this sparks a discussion to get us discovering new books, because a lot of stuff that I tend to find, I get through recommendations through you guys, through if you hit me up on Twitter or on Facebook or in the Facebook group especially, we'll have conversations and I'll from time to time ask for recommendations. And more times than not, because you guys listen to the show and kind of know my taste, a lot of times you give me awesome recommendations that most times, 9 times out of 10, I will really like what that gets suggested or recommended to me to check out. And I hopefully by doing episodes like this, I do the same for you guys listening, that I give you some stuff to put on your radar that you're going to check out and enjoy. But before I get into that, I'd like to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network. If you're looking for more content similar to what you hear here, you can check out the Comics Podcast Network over at comicspodcast.com. There are literally hundreds of different podcasts listed there for you to check out. They have them broken down by publisher, by team, by individual character. If you like a single person podcast like myself, or you like a group or roundtable discussion, you can find it all there at the Comics Podcast Network. And also, if you're starting out podcasting and you want to grow your reach quickly, you can become a part of that. And they have a Twitter, they have a web page, they also have a Facebook page as well. So it helps you grow your audience, because it's, a lot of people follow the Comics Podcast Network. So if you're starting out trying to get listeners, you could also always email the admin when you go to the website to request to become a member of the Comics Podcast Network. So definitely that's something you want to check out. Again, it is at comicspodcast.com. So if you have a moment, check it out. It's a good resource. Now, with all that being said, let's get into this list. At this list, I whittled it down to 26 writers, and I try to put them in the best order I could, but I like all these writers for different things across the spectrum. So this is even though this is a countdown, it's a countdown-ish, because I'm just going through my top writers. And like I said, I ranked them the best I could, but it's picking at hairs on when you get down to certain writers. So again, it's a countdown list, but in no hardcore order. This is a loose kind of ranking order from worst to best out of the 26 writers that I came up with. So for me, my first one on my list is James Tynion IV. He's done some stuff over at DC. That's where I'm most familiar with him. He's currently doing Justice League Dark. He's had a really big run on Detective Comics that I've checked out. He's done some Batman and some backup features on Batman. He was doing like a backup, I think it was like a year one story during Snyder's run on Batman. That was really good stuff. He's a really solid writer. He's done Batman and Robin Eternal. He's wrote Batman Eternal, and he also wrote the Talon series as well. So he's done most of his work that I'm familiar with is DC related stuff, and I really enjoyed him as a writer. I think because he does a lot of collaboration, he's done a lot of collaboration with Scott Snyder. Sometimes he's the lost element, and I feel like he doesn't necessarily get the spotlight, but he's a really, really strong writer, and I like to see him get propelled more as a top writer, because I think he's right there at the cusp of really like blowing up as one of the industry, big writers out there. Next is Peter J. Tomasi. He's done so much stuff over, especially at DC. He's done Green Lantern Corps, multiple volumes. He did a short stint on The Outsiders back in the day. He's done Nightwing. He's done Brightest Day. He's done Batman and Robin, which really put him on a lot of people's radar with his Batman and Robin run after, I think he picked up the book after Grant Morrison left and just really took it and made it his own. Him and Pat Gleason, the artist, they knocked that out. He did some Superman, Wonder Woman series, and also Super Sons as well. So he has a nice little catalog of work built up. But again, I'm most familiar with him from his earlier stuff: Green Lantern Corps, Outsiders, Nightwing, Batman and Robin, especially, are the books that gravitate to mind when I think of him. Next for me, I have Tom Waltz. Most people might not know who Tom Waltz is. He's the main writer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over at IDW Publishing. That series has been phenomenal. Now, I'm not currently up to date. I still think he's the main writer on the book. I think I got to issue, I got in the 30s or 40s. I think they're getting up there close to 100 if they haven't passed 100 issues. I have a backlog of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, but just on the run that I've read where he's writing, he's done most of the writing for all the issues that I've read to date. He just has done a really good job with that book. I can't speak highly enough about it. I've reviewed the books previously. I've talked about his work as a writer, the great character work and the world building they do over on that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book is phenomenal. So I definitely had to include him on the list because it's just a name you don't hear thrown out there, but he's doing good work over on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on IDW. Next for me is Jeff Lemire. He's a bigger name for most people. I haven't read a ton of Jeff Lemire's work. I read his Animal Man in the New 52, and I dug it. He's done some all new Hawkeye, which I've read some of, enjoyed it, and he had a really good run on Green Arrow with Andre Sorrento or Sorrentino. They had a run that actually just got collected in a nice hardbound edition, like their whole run together on Green Arrow from a couple of years ago, which was a really, really good run on the book. So definitely be on the, like, if you do a search for like Jeff Lemire Green Arrow. Like I said, it came out a few weeks ago. Really good run. You can get it all in one bound edition. I think I bought it as it came out, so I have like all the individual issues digitally. But really, really, really good stuff. And that's his like signature work for me that I'll gravitate to because it was so good. Next on my list, I have Nathan Edmondson. He did a recent run on the Punisher. He did also a run on Black Widow. He's writing them both at the same time, and he did a Red Wolf series, little short-lived series. Dig his writing. He also did The Activity, which is he does a lot of spy espionage type vibe of writing. I read a couple of issues of The Activity, and I ended up grabbing the trades because I really liked his Punisher run he did and Black Widow run. I read them both, and I have the Red Wolf trade, and I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. But if you like action, what's that movie with Mark Wahlberg that just came out? 22 Miles or something like that. Like that kind of high octane action movie kind of throwback, but with spies and like special ops type thing. That's really his comfort zone and what he's really good at. So if you like books like that, that is what Nathan Edmondson is really like, seems to be locked in on. Next for me on my list is Dennis Hopeless. He wrote Avengers Undercover, Avengers Arena. He's done some other stuff. Those are the two books that I gravitate back to because I thoroughly enjoyed them, and that's the two books that really put him on my radar. I think he also did some Cable and X-Force as well not too long ago. That was a short stint or run on that book. Next is Nick Spencer. I really know him from Morning Glories, which is his Image title. I think it can finally completed or is on hiatus currently because Nick kind of started blowing up and he started doing a lot of stuff over at Marvel. All right, he's done Secret Avengers. He's done Avengers World. He's currently doing the new reboot of The Amazing Spider-Man as well. And he's doing a good job. Nick is a really solid writer, and he can jump around in a lot of different genres because it's hard to explain. Morning Glories is kind of like not Deadly Class. I can't remember the anime that was Battle. Was it Battle Royale? It feels like Battle Royale, Harry Potter. And it was something else. And a hinge of horror, like Morning Glories in the trades that I've read. I read the first two or the first 1.5. It has that kind of vibe. So that's one thing. Then he can do straight superhero stuff with like Secret Avengers, and he can do something more sweeping and large like Avengers World, and something a little bit a mixture of both when you get to The Amazing Spider-Man, where it can be smaller, intimate stories and then big, bombastic, long, play story arcing series as well. So he can do a lot of different stuff. So I feel like he's a well balanced writer out of some of these newer writers that I have on this list. Next, I have Charles Soule, which I know we're familiar with his Darth Vader run that just completed. He's done a lot over for Marvel recently when it comes to like the Star Wars properties. He's done the Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith, I think is the full title of his Darth Vader comic. It was another one before that that I'm going to talk about in a moment because that writer's the next one on my list. But he's not only done that, he's done Obi-Wan and Anakin, which was a miniseries. He's done some Swamp Thing, I think, in the New 52. Then he did Red Lanterns. He's done She-Hulk. He's done Thunderbolts, the Lando miniseries, and Daredevil, or just to name a few. And some of these writers have tons and tons of credits. And these are certain highlights that I'm familiar with for the particular writers. You might know them for a whole other set of work. So again, this is just, the rough things coming out to give you guys some context or give you some bullet points to go out there to check out these writers. Next writer is Kieran Gillen. He did his Darth Vader series, which was a Star Wars Darth Vader, if I remember correctly. Then he's done some Iron Man. He's done Journey into Mystery. He's done Thor. He's done Uncanny X-Men, which I think just got collected in a I don't know if it's classified as an omnibus, but a collected edition where his whole run is Uncanny X-Men by Kieran Gillen that just dropped not too long ago. And also he's had some work over at Image. What is it? Phonograph is the original series that he started some years ago. That was a big hit, and he's done some other books. I can't remember all his other independent books because I haven't really read them. He didn't come on my radar. I think I picked up an issue of Uncanny X-Men that he wrote, and it kind of sucked me into his writing, and I followed him from there throughout his work on Marvel. So I followed him from Uncanny X-Men to Thor to Journey into Mystery, Iron Man to the Darth Vader book. So I've just followed him as he's gone through Marvel, but I do want to go back and read some of his independent stuff as well once I get a chance. Next is Mark, if I can talk, Mark Millar. We all know, or Mark Miller, depending on how you pronounce it. He's done a lot of creator-owned stuff, and he's done stuff for the big companies as well. He mainly focuses on creator-owned work. He's written Wanted, turned that into a film. He's done Kick-Ass. He's turned that into a film. He did some writing on Fantastic Four. He's done Hit Girl, which was a spinoff character from Kick-Ass. He's done did some writing on Civil War, The Authority, Wolverine, one of my favorite Wolverine stories of all time, Enemy of the State. He wrote, which is a phenomenal story with great John Romita Jr. artwork in it. The Ultimates, Superman Red Sun. So he's Mark Millar has done some stuff. Then he's doing. He sold the whole his whole Millarverse or Millerverse to Netflix, and he's doing a newer book that I've been enjoying, The Magic Order. That's supposed to be developed, I think, into a television show based off of a 6-issue miniseries that's coming out now. I think issue 6 just dropped, I think. And then it's supposed to be, they put it out as a comic, and then I think the concept is that then they turn it into an original Netflix series based on the comic. So I'll be interested to see how that all turns out. But I've been enjoying that series so far, and wait to see how it closes out. What else do we have? John Michael Straczynski, which he's kind of fell off. I don't know if he's written anything recently, but he came from television in Babylon 1, and he came over to comics, and he's done some good stuff. So he started as an independent doing stuff over at Image with his magnum opus, Rising Stars, which that's a whole nother thing. I never finished reading Rising Stars, and I need to do a spotlight episode on it because it had so much potential in it due to just major complications. It never, I felt like, reached its full potential of what it intended to be, and it as hot as it started out, it fizzled out over time. But I'm going to do a spotlight because I actually want to read the whole series, and a lot of it you can get through like Comixology Unlimited. Just check out now and read the series. So I definitely want to go back and revisit that because I never finished the original series. But he did that, and that's where he made his name over in comics off of Rising Stars with Image. Then he did Midnight Nation and did some other small stuff. Then he went over to Marvel, where he did a really good run on Amazing Spider-Man. Then he did some Fantastic Four. Then he did some great work on Thor. Then he's done some stuff over at DC with Wonder Woman. And I think the last thing that he's been writing is Superman Earth 1. I don't know if he's written the subsequent volumes. I think he has been writing those. I think I finally picked up Volume 1. I haven't read it yet. I've been delving into the Earth 1 books that the original graphic novels that DC has been doing. They have like a few. I've read the Batman one, but they have a Green Lantern Year 1, Superman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans. They have like a few, and they have more coming, and they're really interesting. They're different takes on these origin stories, and they're contained in these original graphic novels. Like I said, I've enjoyed the Batman one. I have volume 2 of that I need to read as well, but they're cool stories. So he's doing the Superman one. I know he wrote the first one. I think he's done, because I think it's like 3 of them now. I think he's written all the volumes. So that's the most recent thing that I know JMS has written that I could remember and find. Next writer on the list is Ed Brubaker, a phenomenal writer. Trying to see, he's done so much stuff. I got familiar with Ed Brubaker through DC. He did a lot of stuff. He did Batman. He did some Catwoman, Detective Comics. If I can talk comics, he did Gotham Central. He did Dead Enders. I think that was a Vertigo book. He's done Criminal, which was creator owned. He's done Daredevil over at Marvel. He's done Captain America, Immortal Iron Fist, Uncanny X-Men. Brubaker has done a lot, and he's done a lot of creator-owned stuff as well. Prolific writer. He's kind of doing more creator-owned stuff now, and he's doing well in that lane. You can't knock him after he's played with all the big toys he wanted to play with, and he still, has that door always open to him to go back to either company and work on anything that he wants to work on with that. Next on my list is Chuck Dixon. He's an older writer that if you're a little bit younger, if you've been away from comics for a while, Chuck Dixon is, to me, one of the best action comics writers in the business still to this day. He launched the Birds of Prey series, original volume 1. At one point, he was basically writing all the Bat Family books concurrently, monthly, for years. He wrote, at one point he was writing Birds of Prey, he was writing Nightwing, he was writing Detective Comics, Robin, all at the same time, and he did such a great job. That's just how prolific a writer he was. He was juggling all those books at the same time and then tied them all together and had the continuity between the characters from issue to issue, the book to book, the story to story, be tight and on point, and it all lined up. I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and he did it extremely well. He's also done some work over at IDW now. Back in the day, it was Devil's Due, but he's done some work on G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe's special missions as well. So he's a phenomenal writer, a prolific. Like I said, if you love just action comics, that's his thing, that's his jam, and he's one of the best in the business. If you go back and read the early volumes of Nightwing, especially, I've talked about him. Also, the Birds of Prey stuff. I think he did some Green Arrow stuff with Green Arrow's son, not Roy Harper, but Connor. I think Connor Hawk. Connor. Can't remember what Connor's last name is. I'm seeing his face. I'm trying to remember his name. With him as well. He was writing a ton of DC books at the time and was killing it. Next is Mark Waid. Again, just one of the classic writers here. When we're getting to this part of the countdown list, we're getting into like the heavy hitters that have been names or are legends in the comics industry as writers at this point. Mark Waid, he's done The Flash, he's done JLA, he's done Kingdom Come, he's done Empire, he's done 52, he's done Captain America, Kazar, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, just to name a few of the books he's worked on over the years and had very substantial runs on these books. Kingdom Come is one of the greatest single stories ever written in comics. Love that story. So he has a huge, and he wrote 2 lengthy runs on The Flash, leading into when he left the book for the second time. That started Jeff Johns' ascension at DC Comics as a comic writer, because he took everything that Waid built up and took it and ran with it and put his twist on it and took it in a different direction, and really that's how he got on the map, following up a legend, Mark Waid, on The Flash. Next, we have Kurt Busiek, another legendary writer, did a lot of work over at Marvel, Avengers Forever, one of my favorite Avengers stories of all time, Thunderbolts, so on and so forth. Tons of stuff Kurt Busiek is written over the years. Next, we have Matt Fraction. He's done independent stuff like Casanova. Then he came over to Marvel and just like smashed it with Uncanny X-Men, The Immortal Iron Fist, The Invincible Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye. And he had lengthy runs on everything. He's more doing creator-owned stuff over at Image now, and more power to him. Well, he started at Image and he kind of went back to Image because Casanova originated on Image. Then he got hooked up with Marvel and did all this work, and then now he's back over doing creator-owned stuff over at Image. So good stuff there. Next on my list is Brian Azzarello. He's done 100 Bullets, Loveless, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Joker original graphic novel, Lex Luthor original graphic novel, Batman Damned, I think it was like a 3-issue series. I think it's done now. That came out on the DC Black Label imprint. So he's still writing a ton and knocking it out the park. His Wonder Woman run is some of his best work. 100 Bullets he did over at Vertigo, as well as Loveless. I enjoyed Loveless, Western Story. The 100 Bullets is just crazy. If you've never read 100 Bullets, check out the first trade. I think it's if I can talk. The first trade for 100 Bullets is First Shot, Last Call, if I remember correctly. But I'm dyslexic, so I might have totally reversed that. But I think I'm right. Go with that. First Shot, Last Call is the name of the first trade. Check it out. You'll like it. Next on the list is Jeff Loeb. We hear him more with the Marvel television side, but Jeff Loeb was a prolific writer. He's one of his biggest collaborators is Tim Sale, and they did multiple collaborations where they did did Batman. Jeff Loeb. Well, before I get into that, he did Batman Hush with Jim Lee, but then his biggest collaborator is Tim Sale, and they did Batman: The Long Halloween. They did Dark Victory. They've done Haunted Night. They've done Superman for All Seasons, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, Hulk Gray. So many books. Then he also did a run on Superman. Then he did Superman and Batman comic as well. Jeff Loeb says, and there's so many other things. There's so many to list that I didn't have enough room to list them all. But again, look up Jeff Loeb. You'll see the history there. But if you've never read Hush, great Batman story with beautiful visuals with Jim Lee. If you've never read like The Long Halloween, you owe it to yourself. And the follow-up sequel is Dark Victory. Grab those. You guys know I'm not a huge Superman fan. Superman for All Seasons, hands down, one of my favorite Superman stories of all time. And I dug his run. His run was really fun. He collaborated with Ed McGuinness, and they did a Superman run as well. That was really fun. And those are like some of my two favorite Superman runs of comics that I've ever read. And they're both written by him. Next on the list, we have John Ostrander. You guys might not be familiar. He's an older writer that writes sparingly now, but he's been in the business since like the 60s or 70s for sure, doing stuff like the original Suicide Squad book. He's written Martian Manhunter, Hawk World, Firestorm and the Nuclear Man, Aquaman, Star Wars Legacy, Star Wars, and all of these were when Dark Horse still had all the licensing to the Star Wars stuff. He wrote a lot of Star Wars books over at Dark Horse. Star Wars Legacy, if you've never read that, is not canon. It's considered Legends, but that was a great book set like 100 years after 100 or 1,000. I think it's like 100 years after Return of the Jedi, and is showing where the Skywalker legacy continued. Really, really good book. Cool stuff. Like Luke is a cool Force ghost throughout the series. Great artwork by Jane Dorisma. yeah, if you're a huge Star Wars fan and you want to read something different, the book was really, really good. You can, it's collected now. They have it collected in a few different ways. I think they have it like in an epic collection now. We can get the whole series like in 2 epic collections. But before that, I think it was done in like 4 trades, which is the one I have. That's Marvel released as Star Wars Legends content. So you can actually snatch those up and read them. You won't regret it if you're a Star Wars fan. Next on my list is Scott Snyder. What else can I say about Scott Snyder that we don't already know? Justice League No Justice, Detective Comics, Batman, American Vampire, all the other books. He's done a lot. But he's really killing it right now with the Justice League. And, I mean, who can ever forget his Batman run, or even before that, his Detective Comics run as well. Black Mirror, really great trade. His intro story that he did on Detective Comics, really good stuff. Creepy stuff too, but really good. Next on my list is Walt Simonson. I did a Creator Spotlight episode on Walt Simonson. Going back to Fantastic Four, Thor, X Factor, World of Warcraft, Orion, Hawkgirl. Walt Simonson's been in the business, I think, since the 60s. He's done so much work. I grew up in the 80s. He was an artist-writer on Fantastic Four, artist-writer on Thor, artist-writer on X Factor. He'll be on both lists for favorite writer as well as favorite artist. Those are the books. Even his World of Warcraft he did not too long ago, maybe during the New 52, in around the New 52, he did a World of Warcraft book for DC. I think DC Wildstorm, and it wasn't bad. I really dug it. I think it only went like 25 issues or something like that, but it was fun. He wasn't drawing on that. He just was writing, and he's still sharp as ever, just with his writing skills. But again, all-time greats right there. Next on the list is Jeff Johns. He's done so much stuff. I mean, and the funny part is most people associate Jeff Johns with DC. Where I first discovered Jeff Johns as a reader was actually at Marvel. He wrote the Avengers for a while. And now, because he's so big, they've now gone back and collected it recently. And I think it's 2 volumes. I recently picked them up digitally, where it's Avengers by Jeff Johns, volume 1 and 2, that collects all his run. It wasn't a super long run on the book. I think it's like less than 20 issues or something like that. But really good stuff, though. That's where I first saw his name as a writer, and it took me a while to connect years later, once he went over to DC and he started doing stuff like Flash, the Teen Titans, and Flashpoint, Green Lantern Rebirth, Blackest Night, Aquaman, 52. That's just the tip of the iceberg for all the different things. Day of Judgment, which was a mini limited series magical crossover event that he did. He's done a lot. But he's built a really good name up for himself over the years, and just, again, phenomenal writer. Like I've said that so much, counting down this whole list. Next is Brian Michael Bendis. Some people love him, some people hate him. I've liked more of his work than I've disliked over the years. He's done Powers, he's done Ultimate Spider-Man, he's done Daredevil, Alias, All New X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, New Avengers, Mighty Avengers, Moon Knight. Now he's over at DC. He reintroduced Superman through Man of Steel, and he's doing a new Superman book. He's done creator-owned stuff. From Hell. Wait, did he do From Hell? Scratch that. He didn't do From Hell, I don't think. I can't remember. My brain's getting fried now trying to remember everything that everybody's done. But just giving you some bullet points. Those are some of his big stuff that he did. He worked with Marvel for 20 years before just recently jumping ship, going over to DC. And he has a lot of other books coming out over at DC right now. I can't remember them all, but I think he has his own imprint over there that he's helping out with. I think it's called Wonder or something like that. So he's doing a lot. He's been rejuvenated with moving over because he had went as far as he can go with Marvel. He had worked with like all the big characters at some point or another there. So it was cool seeing him in a move I never thought necessarily he would make. I thought he might go back independent before going working for another big company, but he went from Marvel after so many years at Marvel over to DC, and I'm not mad at him for it by any means. Next on the list is Robert Kirkman. When you look at Robert Kirkman, you think The Walking Dead especially, but also Invincible. He's done other books like The Astounding Wolfman. What was it? Haunt, I think it's called. The Infinite, which I kind of dug, which he did with Rob Liefeld, that lasted all of like 2 or 3 issues. But I was digging it, and I was mad it got canceled. I probably was the only person buying that book, and that's why I got canceled. Maybe it only went 2 issues. I don't even think it went 3 before they imploded. Marvel Team Up, which he did years ago at Marvel. Irredeemable Ant-Man as well. He did the first Marvel Zombies, or the first 2 Marvel Zombie mini series or limited series or whatnot. And tons more books that he's done over at Image. Now he has his own imprint over at Image with Skybound Entertainment, which is killing it right now. Next on the list is Greg Rucka. Books like Queen and Country, Batman, Detective Comics, Batwoman, The Question, 52, Wonder Woman, Gotham Central, Checkmate, the Punisher, and tons more. I know I'm leaving out tons more. Greg Rucka is just, he writes so phenomenal. He's in another realm. He's the top echelon of what I kind of described Nathan Edmondson in. He writes a lot of like spy espionage type things. Batman's a good fit, but then he can write anything. He can write X-Men. He can write Wonder Woman. He can write stuff like The Punisher. He just has a grounded grittiness to anything that he writes, but has a feel of reality to it and a grittiness that it feels real. Even when he's writing absurd superhero stuff, he keeps it kind of grounded in a certain way that only he can do. That gravitates to me when I see his name on a book. It makes me want to pick it up on his name alone because I know it's going to be an interesting read. And last but not least, Jason Aaron, just from Scout to Star Wars to Thor to Wolverine to the X-Men Schism, Wolverine and the X-Men. He's done so much stuff, and he has some creator-owned stuff as well. Like I said, with Scout was Vertigo. He has some stuff over at Image. I think it's Southern Bastards is what it's called, the book. Just a long list of work. He just has a passion. What gravitates me to Jason Aaron as a writer is his passion. You can tell when he writes as like a Darth Vader or Thor that he loves those characters and he's so passionate about it and he puts so much of himself into it that you just gotta love reading it. Now, he's doing the relaunch of the Avengers, which I've enjoyed. Yeah. Jason Aaron is just killing the game. I think he's the top writer like right now in the business, just with the output he's putting out and at the quality he's putting it out at is and he's not afraid to take chances either. So, that's one thing I always dig about him as well. That is my countdown list. I probably left some people off. It's hard coming up with these lists. I try to take current writers that I really enjoy as well as my all-time great writers and kind of combine them in this list of my top 26 is about the best I can do. And but hopefully I gave you guys some things to think about and to look at as far as different writers and maybe different books that I highlighted that they wrote that you might want to check out. As always, if you haven't already, just check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. I do at least one new video every week, sometimes more. If you want to support the show, as you see, it no longer has a main sponsor on the show, so I'm looking for you to help me support the show and to keep the show growing. You can donate. I changed up the homepage to the website some. So if you see the top navigation bar, if you want to donate, you can do a one-time donation through PayPal, through PayPal Me link that's there. So if you click on donate, it'll take you over to that. I also have the link over to the Patreon there on the top page now. So if you go up there, you'll see Patreon. It'll take you over to the Patreon page so you can see what benefits for the different tiers. And, basically, even at the lowest tier, if you pledge $1 a month to the Patreon, you get exclusive content, like you get the podcast a few days early. I try to keep these, I try to stay ahead so you always have content. So you get early access to the podcast. You get, for just $1 a month, you get the Comic Books Savant Extra podcast that I do. That's a Patreon exclusive thing now. So that's just some of the benefits for the dollar tier as you go up to the $3 tier and the $5 tier, and it tops out at $7. So it's as little as $7 a month. You get all this additional content related to the show. I do totally exclusive podcast episodes that you're not going to hear ever on that Comic Book Savant Extra feed. It is, I've done like 20 some odd or whatever episodes. I do extra episodes weekly, so you get a whole nother episode of the of Comic Book Savant. You get a whole nother podcast there. Like I said, for pledging just as little as $1 a month, it goes a long way to help support the show. Then it's other perks, like if you do the $3 tier, you get listed on the website as a Patreon supporter. You get even more, benefits. You get all the benefits from the $1 pledge for the $3 plus extra bells and more extra bells and whistles. And it goes on for $5. And then the $7 tier is the ultimate tier, which you get all the different bells and whistles from the previous tier plus some extra stuff. You get listed in the credits for YouTube videos at the $5 tier. $7 tier, we have an exclusive Discord that we're doing. I'm working on doing movie commentaries and TV show commentaries that I'm working on. That'll be at the $5 tier. So then I'm still adding features to make it more value added for you guys, that you're getting the most bang for your buck for helping support the show, because it means a lot. I need it more than ever now. Like I said, things happen with the previous sponsor, kind of decided to part ways. So it was sooner than what I expected, because I wanted the Patreon to grow more. So I'm stepping up and I'm pitching it to you guys now and asking you, it's always the most awkward thing for me to do, because I'm not a salesman by nature, but it's by necessity at this point, because to continue this, to keep it growing and going, it costs money. So you guys support, I have a small following of Patreons now that have done a great job supporting, helping support, but I still need even more. So if you guys can, again, it starts as little as $1 a month pledge, and like I said, you get bonus content for it as well, which, again, I want it to be value added. I don't want to just be shilling and asking you for money for no reason. I want you to get something out of your money. And if you can't continually subscribe, you can always do the one-time donation through the PayPal link. All that is greatly appreciated. It goes to production of the show, equipment, all that good stuff. So I got that spiel out of the way. Also, check out my co-host, which is Heath Holland. If you haven't already, check him out over at YouTube, youtube.com/Serial at Midnight. Also, his website, serial at midnight.com. We do the Spinner Rack Bros here that you hear, the audio podcast. We also do, we've done a couple of video versions that are up on his YouTube channel as well. So definitely check those out if you have a moment. And we're going to be doing more stuff coming down the road. We kind of alternate doing an episode on his YouTube channel, and then like we do an audio episode here. We still going to have that coming, so don't be discouraged. You guys told us how much you liked it, so we're trying to maintain our schedules and alternate to do one for him, one for me, to keep getting you guys the Spinner Rack Bros content, because you guys have responded super well to it. So we want to do more of it, but it's just trying to find the time to do more episodes. You at least get once a month. But right now the plan is the last episode we did a video on his YouTube channel. So the next episode we'll do will be audio. So it'll alternate 1 month on his YouTube channel, 1 month on the audio channel. And once we get everything dialed in with the video, we'll also be doing a video on the YouTube channel as well, on my YouTube channel. Or that's my hopes moving forward, that we do some video as well, so you can not just hear us, you can also see us as well. So that's also in the works. So that's everything I have for you guys for this episode of Comic Book Savant. Also follow me on social media at Comic Book Savant on Instagram as well as Twitter. I'm trying to learn Twitter better and become more active, so you'll see me more there now. So if you mention me or want to shoot me a message, do that. I will respond as soon as I get it. Also, stop by the website, comicbooksavant.com. Oh, new merchandise is in the store as well. I updated, if you haven't seen, we have the new tagline, Comic Book Savant, for the love of comics. I wanted to take the podcast for the serious comics fan away, because I don't feel like that's the direction I'm at anymore with the show. This is more of a resource sharing, learning type thing for you guys, and I do it for the love of comics. So it just seemed more fitting and more inviting to everyone. I don't want anyone to be excluded or alienated by a tagline that's saying that you have to be, air quote, a serious comics fan to listen to the podcast. This is a podcast on a platform for anyone that's interested in comics, that wants to learn more about comics. That is what this is about. So I wanted to rechange the focus. So I put up a new T-shirt with the change in the logo. I think it's a coffee mug. It's a T-shirt, coffee mug, hoodie, and you can even get like little stickers with the new logo and stuff on it. It's just the updated logo. It's still the one that you've been seeing, but it's just changed it and modified it some. So definitely check all that out as well. And also, if you haven't join the Facebook discussion group. I try to interact a lot there as much as possible. It's like a small community. I think it's like 20 of us or so. So definitely feel free. I have the links on the website as well in the top navigation. That'll take you right over to the Facebook group. You just request to join. As soon as I see it, I'll approve you and you can join in. So I try to, like I said, communicate a lot through there as well with the different listeners that have joined so far, and I throw out different show ideas. And we just talk about comics in there. So feel free to join that, trying to grow that community out as well. I think I've ran over everything that I needed to with you guys. I've held you long enough. Thank you for all your support, and thank you for listening. This is James Harris, the Comic Book Savant. I will see you guys next week for another episode. You guys take care and have a good week. I will see you soon. Take care. It's just the updated logo. It's still the one that you've been seeing, but it's just changed it and modified it some. So definitely check all that out as well. And also, if you haven't join the Facebook discussion group. I try to interact a lot there as much as possible. It's like a small community. I think it's like 20 of us or so. So definitely feel free. I have the links on the website as well in the top navigation. That'll take you right over to the Facebook group. You just request to join. As soon as I see it, I'll approve you and you can join in. So I try to, like I said, communicate a lot through there as well with the different listeners that have joined so far, and I throw out different show ideas. And we just talk about comics in there. So feel free to join that, trying to grow that community out as well. I think I've ran over everything that I needed to with you guys. I've held you long enough. Thank you for all your support, and thank you for listening. This is James Harris, the Comic Book Savant. I will see you guys next week for another episode. You guys take care and have a good week. I will see you soon. Take care.